Hodgepodge rock polishing. Yeah, it's hodgepodge because I took a hodgepodge of rocks that I had laying around or had picked up on the path, some of which I didn't even know what they were, some of which were covered with dirt or mud, and threw them into, well, I didn't have any coarse grits, so I decided just skip stage one, forget step one, and I'll go right to step two and just run it for 2 weeks instead of for 1 week and see what the results are.
What I have is a very nice piece of flint from Flint Ridge, Nether's Farm. There's another little piece. Then I have some pieces that I guess are just quartz pebbles that I picked up locally. These, I believe, are additional pieces of flint. I picked these up out in the woods. They have a lot of dirt on them. I never bothered to clean them off. I'm just going to put them in there like that, which is why I call it hodgepodge. This might be a bit of what you might call granitoid, piece of what I believe is variolite. I've got all these other little quartz pebbles that have experienced tumbling before, and they make a pretty nice filler. Just to spice up the neighborhood and make things more interesting, I'll throw those in. I still need more. Just throw in a couple more pieces I picked up in Lake Superior. Okay, I changed my mind. I think I maybe go with this instead. Looks more interesting. And then this also looks more interesting. And now I truly have a hodgepodge. And that is what I am after. I'm out of the number 1 grit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in plenty of number 2 grit, which is silicon carbide, medium 220 grit. And I am going to put in 6 tablespoons. And I'm going to let this go for 2 weeks. Since I don't have number 1 grit, I'll put in number 2 grit and run it twice as long. And we'll see what happens. Add the water and off we go to the races. This little batch here, what I'm calling the hodgepodge batch, has been tumbling for 2 weeks. All right, nice and juicy. All right, take a look here what we've got. This is a nice piece of flint, and this is going to turn out beautiful, I think. I'm going to like this a lot. That is another piece of flint. Okay, these are pieces of flint. This is polishing up nice. I think I was calling that variolite before, and that could very well be what it is. This was that big chunk of quartz. It looks nice. Two weeks, you kind of forget what you had in there. This was that green piece. Another piece of flint. The flint from Nether's Farm looks great. The quartz looks kind of pretty. I'm partial to quartz anyway, especially really, really white pieces. Ooh, that's got some speckles of maybe mica in it. Very nice. A little bit of debris, stuff that chipped off, but it's looking good. All right, hodgepodge it is. And now we will go ahead and run it in the next phase. We'll move on to step 3. And we'll see what kind of hodgepodge mess I end up with. All right, there's just a few of these pieces that I really like a lot. This one, this one. I like this one. This, Beautiful piece of quartz. And then there's a few others in there. They're kind of nice, but those are the main ones I like. I'm going to add a couple more rocks just to sweeten the pot a little bit. And then I'm going to put in these little spacers, step 3, and the grit, and we'll be ready to go for another week. Step 3 is the pre-polish. 6 tablespoons. 3, 4, 5, and 6. What a mess. Spacers. And here we go. Step 3 is done in the pre-polish phase. That is with a really, really fine grit. And next is the burnishing, or you might call it enhancing. That comes next. We'll do that for a couple of hours, and then later on today, I'll go ahead and put the polish in. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. All right, this is looking pretty good. I do notice that this is quite a bit smaller than what we started out with. This is just as gorgeous as ever. This is changing quite a bit in its appearance. I'm not so sure that it's that variolite that I was talking about earlier. Well, I like it. I like using all these little bits of quartz because it's just a cheaper way of taking care of some filler, and also to add a little bit more abrasion. Instead of using the ceramic media, I'd rather use these, and when they get too small, then I can just throw them away, and there's plenty more where that came from. For the burnishing phase, or what I call the enhancing phase, 20 mule team borax, a little dabble do ya, use more, only if you dare. So we'll run this for a few hours, and hopefully things will turn out nice and shiny and clean, and then it'll be into the polish. Hodgepodge rocks. Yeah, we're going to add a little bit more to that. We're going to put in some burnishing spacers. So let's go ahead and add those right now. Just to kind of pad things. Make sure everything is nice and gentle in there. Cleaning, burnishing, enhancing. 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe, no, 3 hours. In 4.5 hours, my wife and I got to watching that Ghost UK show on Paramount Plus, and boy, that was funny. We watched more than one episode. So here we go. It's really clean, so I'll just rinse all these little tiny fragments off. Anything that is a spacer, and we'll be putting it in the polish spit spot, as Mary Poppins would say. That's the next step. We're going to add in 6 tablespoons of polish, if I've got that much. I'm not even positive about that. 2, 5, and 6. And now I will be adding some water, and also some of these little beads. These have been in the polishing mix before. The polishing phase is done, and so it's time to wash these puppies off and see what I have. Well, it's all well and good. It looks great when it's wet, right? We'll see what it looks like in the laboratory.
With most of my polishing projects, there are winners and there are losers. And the biggest winner, which is really the only rock I wanted to polish and make sure I got polished, was this one, this nice piece of flint. Nether's Farm flint. Flint Ridge flint. Even though I didn't have the coarse grit, I really like the way it turned out. Now that flint can be sharp, and I didn't want to get cut, so I polished it, but I was able to keep some of the structure by doing it this way, and I really like the results. I hope you do too.
Other winners, I would say, these pieces of quartz turned out very nice. And all these small pieces of quartz turned out nice. Really liked them a lot. The big piece of flint, excellent. The other piece from Nether's Farm, excellent. This also, and that from Nether's Farm. That flint just takes the polish magnificently. Over here, that green, just too much of a sedimentary, metamorphic kind of rock. Just didn't take the polish. Variolite didn't take the polish at all, but I still think it's pretty cool. These other two pieces of random flint, disappointing because they were infiltrated with other types of softer material and just didn't look all that good. These little pieces of quartz, they did their job. These pieces of quartz, even though, I mean, I don't grind out all the little holes and everything, they're fantastic. This turned out beautifully. You know, I skipped that first step, and yeah, I know you're not supposed to, but wow. Can you really find fault with that? What will I do in the future? Yeah, I'll use step one. I'll use the coarse grit with a lot of things. But man, I'm pleased. So, but you know, it's personal style, and some people like it hot, some people like it cold, just as the saying goes.
Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.